Welcome to Big Daddy Bakes. I'm Big Daddy, and today we're going to be making some cheese bread. I used to live in New York City, and there was a bakery that was not far from where I lived that had the most amazing cheese bread. It would have like caramel cheese on the top of it, and there would be swirls of cheese throughout it. So what I wanted to do was to replicate that, and this recipe gets it just about there from what I remember. It's actually really easy, so let's get to it and I'll show you how to do it. For this recipe you will need 3 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of salt, 2 1/2 tablespoons of sugar, 2 1/2 teaspoons of yeast or a package of yeast, a 1/2 cup of water and a 1/2 cup of milk. I've put them both into the same vessel. 2 tablespoons of melted butter, and you want this to get down to room temperature before you use it. And then we're going to need a cup and just a little bit more of cheddar cheese. This is Cabot sharp cheddar. I think it tastes the best, but you can use whatever cheese that you have that you like. Alright, to start this recipe, I have warmed up my milk and it's almost 105, it's showing 102. That is perfectly fine. I'm going to pour it in. This is the water and the milk. And then I'm going to add my sugar. And with Mr. Whisk. Alright, so I've water and sugar. I've whisked it together a little bit. Then I'm going to add in the yeast. And I'm just going to whisk that in. Then I'm going to add the melted butter. This butter has been melted and cooled. And so the last thing I'll do is add in the flour. So I'm going to add that in. I'm going to reserve 1/4 cup or so of flour. I'm going to put on the dough hook after I drop it in. I'm going to put in the dough hook. There we go. And I am going to start kneading this on low for just a moment. Yeah, we're definitely fine with this. When I lift it out, it's going to make just the perfect dough, I think, at this point. So I'm going to let it go. I'm going to knead this for about 8 minutes. Alright, so here we have our dough. It has expanded. I'm going to kind of square this off and then roll it out. This needs to be 8 by 12 or so. Alright, I'm going to spread my cheese inside it. Leave a little bit more for the top. Alright, then I'm going to roll this up. Pinch to seal. Alright, then we're going to take our tool. I'm using a bench splitter. Then join it together, and we're going to wrap around like so. It's going to expose that cheese on the inside. This is a 9 by 5 pan. I sprayed it with some oil, and then I'm going to take the rest of my cheese and just kind of spread it around the top. On the sides it doesn't matter. Now I'm going to let this rise for about 45 minutes to an hour until it's just above the pan, and then we're going to bake it. Within the last few minutes, turn your oven on to 350 just to give it time to warm up while the dough is rising. So here is our loaf after it has done its second proof. I'm going to put this in the oven and cook it for about 30 minutes, and then I'm going to temp it. It should be around 190 to 205, anywhere in between there will be fine. If it's still not done, I'm going to cover it with a little bit of foil, flip it around the other way, and let it sit in for another 5 or 10 more minutes. So here's our bread after it came out of the oven. It's cheesy and it has caramelized. It's just a beautiful loaf, and it smells so good, and it also tastes incredibly good. You really have to try this recipe. Thank you so much for joining us here on Big Daddy Bakes. If you like what we do on the channel, please consider subscribing, liking, and clicking the little bell icon so you'll be notified every time I release a new video. Also, share with a friend. Thank you so much for joining us. Daddy Bakes, and I'm going to do that again.